Hi and welcome to my first car video. I want to start this video by saying, are you looking for an XC90? Are you put off by mileage? Don't be, because I've got two different little stories to say, and I'm going to try and give you as much information as I can about these XC90s. And the one I've got now is on 202,000 miles. 202,000 miles, and it's still going like a dream. So if you want to carry on listening to my video, probably be a bit clunky because I'm not really good at this kind of thing. I'm going to give you a brief rundown of both of these XC90s I've had and the problems I've faced. So the topic of my video would be, should you buy an XC90 and do you worry about the mileage? No, I wouldn't worry about mileage. So the first XC90 I had was a 2005. It was traded in, it come from the Peak District, I think, and the guy went to Cannock to trade it in for a Jeep Cherokee, I think he said, and it had no service history at all. None whatsoever. And I said to the guy, the trader, I was like, has he got any service history? And he was like, no. But he looked like the sort of, looked like the sort of guy that serviced cars. I don't know what that looks like, but yeah. So I bought that for £2,000. He said to me that he'd just put a fresh MOT on it. It was also a Cat N, which it didn't really bother me, because as I said, I work with cars, so I can fix you know, pretty much most things. As soon as I got there, I road tested it. There was a horrendous noise coming from the back. So he said, oh, I might have a wheel bearing out, or there might be a tyre that's out of shape, which I thought fair enough. Opened the bonnet and the bonnet fell on me, because the bonnet struts are quite problematic. Then the boot, there's like a little boot flap handle that stuck, so I couldn't open the boot, but then you wiggle it, you open the boot. But I still continued to buy this car. At this point, I didn't know much about XC90s. I've literally self-taught, so yeah, that's where I went with that. So on the way back home, I'd wind down the window, my daughter was in the car, and the window fell out halfway, and it was cold, it was dark, it was February, so it's quite cold, and we literally drove home with the window halfway down, freezing. I got home, took it to work the next day, got it on the ramp. Now I test cars, and the wheel bearing was hanging off, so I had a look at all other things. I seen that there's 5 mounts on these XC90s. There's one at the front. There's one just underneath where the cam belt is, on the subframe. There is one at the top, and then there's 2 vacuum mounts either side. I'd noticed that 3 of them was just perished. Bearing in mind that car had only done 104,000 miles. That was one of the reasons what led me to buy it. So I went on auto doc, I ordered 3 bushes, full service kit, did the whole thing really. Cam belt, went with a cam belt kit, all that kind of stuff. So I did all that, put it all together, and you know, I drove it for a good 6 months, not a problem. Then I started to get a clunking in the gearbox, so I did a bit more research, and I found that the gearbox solenoids can play up on them. You can actually buy the actual separate solenoids, and you can strip the gearbox, you can actually take the unit off the front of the gearbox, and you can change the parts, but someone's put up that you could just do an oil change. So I did a gearbox oil change. Now bearing in mind that's the 5-speed box, it isn't as complex as the 6-speed box is what I'm in now. So I did that, and that didn't work, and it was still drivable. I mean, the guy that I sold it to knew about all these problems, and he's not done nothing to it, and he's been up and down the country in it, which kind of made me feel a bit sick, because I thought, I've put all that money into it, I paid £2,000 for the car, I put around about £1,000 worth of parts on it, then all my weekends working on it, I'd even took the turbo off because I had a boost issue. And there's a Facebook group which I can recommend highly. It's a xc90 group, and there's a lot of people on there that know their stuff. That I've obviously worked with Volvo. I don't. I work with Volkswagens, Audis, and Seats, so I know them. But with Volvo, no, I don't. I was just self-taught. But I took the turbo off, stripped the turbo in half, and all the vanes was, you know, coated up. So I cleaned them, put them all back together, all new seals on, put it back together, and it ended up being a split boost pipe. So yeah, but that car is still going strong today. Then I sold it for £1,800. Again, for when we go back on that, it still was having, every time I'd start it, sometimes the battery light would ping on. See, honestly, it was just constant problems with that car. Then I got a cheap Fiesta, a new Fiesta, that the clutch had gone, and I mean cheap. So I put a clutch in it, and I'd obviously sold the XC90, and I was just like, what have I done? Then I wanted a new XC90, so then I found this. 200,210 miles was on it when I brought it, and now it's on 202,015. So I don't do much mileage, and I've only had it since August, and we're in January now. I literally drive 1 mile to work and 1 mile back, and I say that quietly because that's quite bad. But yeah, that's all I do. I don't need a 7-seater. I don't need a car this big. I've got another car in the house. I don't need to have a second car, really. But you always need a second car, don't you? It's like anyone that's in a relationship. You always want to have a second car. Car sharing's a nightmare. But to cut costs, I could literally do without a car. But it's handy for when you want to do camping trips, fishing trips, tip runs. There's been times where we've had to go and pick up, whether it's a fridge or a washing machine, and these things you can just throw everything in the back. So I just like having an XC90. I really do. They do spring up problems, and that is what this video is that I'm going to talk about. Because the thing is with the XC90s is that if you're somebody that's on a low budget and you're a family that rely on that one car, you've got that one car that you need to, you know, do the school runs in, you know, whether or not it's just school runs, or if you've only, what I'm trying to say is you've just one car in your household, an XC90 is something I would consider, but make sure it's got good service history. Because as I say, this car that I've got right now, it's got a full service history, and that's what made me buy it. You've got the receipts, there's a stack of receipts, oil changes every year, full services, tyres, brakes. It's had the swirl flaps replaced, it's had a DPF full clean, I think it's had a new injector at some point. It isn't perfect, which I'm going to do a video on, however, it is still a bargain. I paid £2,500 for this. I'm going to do a video of the outside of the car. This is a 2011, and the difference between this and an 05 is just crazy, but you'll see the difference. So this is the 2011, obviously, that I've brought. Now, as I said, I haven't washed it or cleaned it. This is just a video, just to go through certain things that what I found, what the difference is between these cars. I can obviously show you the difference. So you get the difference with trim. So the difference with the trim on this is you get like a nice beige sewn in effect. The trim level's different, so you've got all the silver bits. I've got the pop-up sat nav, but you're best off just using your phones. This has got also, I don't think it had it fitted after. It's got some pure device. The device is up there. It's got built-in Bluetooth as well. The clocks as well. As you can see there, 202,000. It's got the xenon headlights as well. I'll ignore the tints. I've tried to attempt to do that myself, but they're not the best. Again, pretty much the same as in the back. And then as for the engine, you see the difference. So see how it's the silver top. So that's the, well, it's the 185 brake horsepower engine, but these are mapped from factory. So as I said, the things to look out for is an engine mount there, which mine has actually gone. But as I said in my, as I said earlier, I am not doing what I did last time and replacing all these other bits. I'm just going to treat it each month to a different part. There's an engine mount down the bottom down there that's gone, so I can hear that when I go over bumps and stuff. There's a vacuum mount which is down there, and there's one at the back. Now, to tell whether the vacuum mounts have gone is when the engine's running, take off the cap and you'll hear like a pop 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 noise. That'll be the indication that those engine mounts have gone. The only other thing I've got is an oil leak along the bottom. Now, I am going to change the seal on the oil filter housing, just so it's not that. But I've been told, apparently, the seal can leak that runs along the bottom of the engine, and that can also cause a leak. I've also got a slight misting from my radiator, so I've got to change that as well. But as I said, again, I am not going to go into it and replace all these parts at once. It's done 200,000 miles. Yes, it is a really nice car and I will be looking after it, but as it comes to replacing all these parts like I did with my last one, I'm just gonna replace bit by bit each month. I do hope to go on some camping trips and some long distance holidays this year, so I will make sure that it's all up to date. But for anybody that's actually buying these cars, they are well worth the money, and I think they're one of the best cars on the road, and it just looks incredible compared to my old one. This is just stunning. So would I buy a car at 200,000 miles? Yes, I would. That's my video wrapped up. I just thought I would finish it off by saying that hopefully I've got my my points across with the problems that I've had. So if you are thinking about buying one, there is things to look out for. So obviously, yeah, look out for any oil leaks, and I'll put it in the video. But that was on the older engine, so the black covered engine, the 165. Look underneath, so where the gearbox and the engine joins. If you ever see a lot of oil on there, I mean, you would notice the difference between a core plug popping out and a misting of oil. You'd see put along the floor. As again, it's an expensive job where you have to remove the gearbox from the engine to replace the plug, because the pressure builds up in them. You might say, why have I even done a video on these cars that are, you know, the first one was 20 years old, this one's about 14 years old. But you know, they've got a lot of character, and after having one, I just love them. I really do love them, and not a lot of people know about these cars, I don't think. Well, people probably do, but they don't. I mean, I owned a Mark 5 GTI for 6 years, and I intend to keep this car, the one I've got now, for as long as possible. I know it's on 200,000, but I didn't cover the issues that I've had with this, and it has got issues. I did get it plugged in to Vida, and the lad that plugged it in was like, there's no faults with it at all. He said it's quite rare with XC90s. I haven't got any electrical faults with this. I do with this one though. There's a difference. I have noticed it's very vibrating. It vibrates a lot. Now I do know that my vacuum mounts are gone, and there's a couple of other mounts that I need to change. But as I said, I'm not just going out and just throwing loads of money at this. I'll just treat it each month. I do intend to, you know, put a lot of work into it, but I really like this car. I really do like this car, and I do want to keep it and just keep on top of it as long as I can. But yeah, going to the faults on this, there's a harsh vibration that comes from it, which I'm going to change the mount anyway. There's a clicking on full lock only when I turn right, and I suspect to CV joints. So again, I'm going to need to do that.
I did the cam belt when I first brought it. I'd done the cam belt with the auxiliary belt tensioner. So I did all that. You know, you just do that as preventative maintenance, don't you? You don't want that going, because as I said, a lot of people get worried about the auxiliary belt snapping, or the even roller on the auxiliary belt. I've seen them actually on videos where the actual roller comes off and on the auxiliary belt, and it can take out the cam belt. But I did that, as you know, so I've done all that on here. So that's the first thing. You know, I did this, you know, the services and stuff. I've had to put brake pads in it and stuff like that. I've already put an engine mount on it. So yeah, I mean, other than that, for a car that's on 200,000 miles, I am happy with it. You know, as I said, I've got to do the little bits and pieces, but I couldn't find the content that I want to hear, so that's why I've put this video out. I might look back on the video and cringe and delete it, but I'm just giving anybody an insight that wants to buy these XC90s. If you've got good service history and it's been very looked after and it's come from a reliable source, then I would recommend getting one, because they will, you put the work into them and they'll look after you, and I think they're just a fantastic car.